My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with is a father, a husband, and a minister. His motto is, if you can look up, you can get up. I hope that you enjoy.
Dem Bois, Dem Bois, amplifying, transmitting, color voices, yeah, we here making noise, yeah, making noise, yeah. Visibility equals possibility, you know we them boys, yeah, them boys, yeah.
Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his. My next guest is a father, a husband, a minister, and a friend. His heart for service fuels his advocacy. Listen to this. His motto is, if you can look up, you can get up. Whew, he was also a guest on episode 18 and 19, our Love, Sex, and Relationships episode part 1 and 2. Welcome to the show, EL.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be back.
So glad to have you here. I'm so excited to have you here. So you want to go ahead and introduce yourself for folks that's listening?
Sure. My name is E.L. Winston. I am all the things you just said. I my hands is in so many things. So it's like when I introduce myself, it's like it'd be a long list of things. So I'll just say I'm E.L. and I'm a man about service.
I love that, a man about service. And what does service exactly mean to you?
For me, service means being able to look outside of yourself and provide hope and help.
Hope and help, the 2 H's. Beautiful. So, EO, where are you located?
I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
North Carolina. How's the weather out there right now?
It's North Carolina weather. Like the daytime is warm. You're going to need a t-shirt, and then the nighttime is cold. You're going to need a hoodie.
Oh, wow. So we're recording in October. So the episode won't come out when we're recording. So is that like typical weather in October or what?
Yes.
Okay. That sounds like the Bay Area kind of though. Like you can go outside with your t-shirt on, and then at night you need a whole jacket because it's about to cool down a lot. Yeah, I love
Definitely.
that. Yeah. So the name EL, how did that name choose you?
It's actually a combination of my first name and my middle name. So my first name, I chose not to change it. So my first name is Erica, right? So I have a twin, and we were named after a couple who helped my father escape during the war. So the couple's name was Fritz and Erica, and so me and my twin's name is Fritz and Erica. And so I feel like for African American people, we so much of what our history is, we're not tapped into, or we are separated from. And for me, my name, they just didn't pick our names out of a hat. It meant something, right? And so I've never had any traumatic connections to my name. I only don't use my name outside of business or family, because people tend to hear my name and then start to misgender me. So to keep that from happening, we just use the first letter of my first name and the first letter of my middle name, and there you go.
How beautiful is that? To know that somebody that, I believe that things happen for a reason, right? But that somebody that came to your rescue, you later went on to name your children after them. Were they still around or in connection when you and your twin were born?
No. My parents, it's funny, my mother had 2 other children, but me and my brother are my father's only children, right? And he was in his 60s when we were born. So they helped him escape Nazi Germany, right? And so he didn't have any contact with them after that. I don't believe that he ever saw them again after they helped him
that makes sense.
Escape. So
wow, that makes sense. But to take the memory with you home and say, I'm alive and I'm able to have my first children because these people rescued me. That's a beautiful story. I love that. I didn't know that about you. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't even be here.
Yeah. Oof, that's beautiful. So
Yeah.
just love and energy to the folks that, because I always believe that there are good folks in this world amongst all the negative that we see, right? Or the negative that's going on in the moment. And to know that throughout all of that, they was like, hey, let's, stay true to who we are and we're going to rescue this man. Was it somebody else in his group that they rescued too, or was it just him?
It was just him.
Wow. So it's
It
like
was just him.
it's meant to be. So
Yeah.
you are here.
There were several in the group, but he was the only one that they were able to get out. The rest were caught and executed.
Wow. That's just like you said, that's beautiful because you are here I'm looking at you right now. You're a blessing. And you said it fuels your advocacy, and so just to know that there was a greater purpose for your life, and that's why your father was spared and had you, and it's like that reaction, and everything happens for a reason. I love that. Like, that's beautiful. And so what I do know about you from our previous episodes, knowing that you began your medical transition later in life, and so I consider you an elder. And not because of your transition history of like when you transition, right? People think elder is like, oh, I transitioned 30 years ago. No, I consider you my elder because of years and wisdom and experience, right? And so how was that for you transitioning later in life?
Man, it was scary. It was scary. It was frustrating at times. Until I found my tribe per se. For me, transition looked different, and I felt like a lot of what I call the old guard were very dismissive of they were very dismissive of my journey in the beginning, right? Because so like I said, I chose not to change my name, and so some people had an issue with that. I could not medically transition at the time because of other medical issues I had going on. So there was an issue with that. And so for me, like I tried to explain to people, like, everybody's journey is different. And so when I explained why at the time I had decided not to medically transition, I got a lot of pushback because, people felt like that was the next part of my evolution, or should have been the next part of my evolution, and it wasn't, and I was good with that. Like, I often try to explain to people, like, because I'm not knocking however you get through the journey, that's how you get through the journey, but you don't have the right to tell someone else that their road to the journey is not what it is, or that you don't qualify to be in the club. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always say, like, part of the reason why I started really heavy in advocating for people who don't necessarily check all the boxes is because we are in a community that says, I want you to accept me for who I am, for who I show up as. That's who I need you to accept me for, right? But if you don't show up in certain spaces, checking the boxes, then we don't accept you. And I find that insane in a community that says that I need to be accepted for who I am, right? So it was kind of frustrating. And so I went back and forth with it. Like, I was like, I don't know if how I feel is how I really feel. Because right now these people are saying that is not right. And I'm like, nah, I know who I am, right? And so then I joined a couple groups, had a couple conversations, and then I finally started finding spaces where they affirmed who I am. And so, and then it was off to the races after that.
I could see how that's frustrating.
Yes, because like like I try to explain to people sometimes, and they don't really, some parts of it they don't get, right? Like, because some of my siblings have issues, or what's the word, dysphoria, right? When they looking at themselves in the mirror and all of that, right? So I was like, well, need I don't need that. I don't need that part. I don't need T to change what I look like so it fits who I am. Because if you were ever to see a picture of me and my twin, right? My twin brother, we look exactly alike. There's no time in my life that I've ever seen a woman. There's no time. Like I see the man that I am, and have seen the man that I am, not only in the mirror, but standing in my face every day for my entire life. Right? So I don't have that. That wasn't a thing for me. So the concern for me was due to the advice of my doctor that it might not be safe for me medically. So I chose not to do that. And so I got a lot of, at first I got a lot of pushback from that, but
So these people that gave you pushback, were they considered like friends, or was it family members, or who were they? If you don't mind
no,
saying.
they was just like community people, like community siblings, like, you know what I'm saying, in different groups. You know how when you start that journey and you look for your tribe or your people, and you end up in these different groups and stuff. And I was in these different groups expressing, a lot of people, because I'm older, figured that I have all the answers. When I was starting out, I didn't have none of the answers. It was just like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how this goes. I'm figuring my way out. I'm doing my research. But because I was the oldest guy in the room, they thought that I should have the answers when I was the one with the questions.
And to be honest with you, none of us had the damn answers. We don't know until we actually go through it. Why? Because each question and answer is different from each individual person. I can understand how that's frustrating. That was frustrating to me just hearing you say it. I'm sitting over here on edge. Like, shame on them, right? Like, each journey is different, right? I just hate that in life in general, how people put this pressure on folks to do certain things. Oh, you 35 years old? I'm speaking for cisgender women who may want to have children or don't want to have children. They say, oh, you're not married yet? Oh, you don't have children yet? Listen, that's not for everybody. Marriage is not for everybody. Children is not for everybody. Some people may be 35 and still stay with their parents. So what? Like, you should be on your own by now. No, who's making up all these damn rules, and why do we stress ourselves out to live by them? Yeah.
Right. Like, who made you the rule maker?
Yeah, exactly. The rule enforcer.
You're not the rule maker.
Right.
And that's part of, and it's really funny because that's another reason why I'm 53 now. When I turned 50, I said, I'm going to do everything. If it's something I've never done and I want to do, I'm going to do that. And so I started writing for Blaqueout magazine. I have a column in there. It's called The Old Man's Corner, and it's just my perspective on life and my journey in transitioning late in life.
Blaqueout magazine. What is that? Tell us more about that.
Okay, so I saw a post on Facebook one day about different organizations. They were doing like organization spotlight, because I'm also a non-collegiate Greek, right? I founded two non-collegiate Greek organizations. So I reached out to them about having my organization in the magazine for that month. And then after that month, I reached out to the editor, Tamara Lee, and said, hey, so I wanted to know if I wanted to submit something, could I? And she was like, yeah, because I had been thinking about creating a blog about my transitioning late in life. And so I was like, okay. And so I was like, everybody that, I'm connected to calls me the old man. So that's how I got the Old Man's Corner, right? And so it has been one of the most rewarding things ever. It's a magazine written by Black and brown queer people. I get to talk about things that affect me and affect us as a community, and I get to shine a light on some things that we're not thinking about and that we should be. And so I've been writing for the magazine for 2 years now. I also have a column with my wife in the magazine. It's called Love Lives in Us, where we talk about love and relationships and everything in between. And recently, I'll be celebrating a year. I have a new column. It's called Book Therapy, which I write book reviews and I do interviews with authors about their books, all BIPOC, Black and brown authors, which is a thing for me, right? Because I'm dyslexic. And so that's like my tagline, your favorite dyslexic book nerd, right? So I think in my transition, I started to be more confident in who I was, because I was finally who I am. And so then I started doing all of these things that I didn't think about doing. And I think that's an important part about my story, and my part of my advocacy is that you can do whatever it is that you want to do, that you think you can do. Even if you don't think you can do it, you could try it, right? There's no shame in trying something and finding out that it's not for you, right? You can do something else after that. But like you definitely only have one life to live, and you should live it to the fullest.
Hey, this is Jackal from Stealth, a Transmasculine podcast. Join me and my co-host Kai as we interviewed transmasculine elders about their experience growing into their authentic selves. The term stealth highlights two important facts. That one, for our generation, we were often told to hide our past and live an underground existence. And that due to that, our stories are very often overlooked. Throughout our lives, each of us has had to navigate issues of disclosure, which have impacted us in many ways. We also have a member section where you'll get to hear some amazing transmasculine history, from Black jazz musicians to Mexican revolutionaries. We hope you join us for season 5 as we continue to emphasize that transmasculine folk have always been here and that we will continue to be here. Be sure to check out our website, transmasculinepodcast.com.
Live it to the fullest. So that means, so 20 years from now, you don't want to be like, wish I shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? You could, if it didn't last, you would say, at least I tried, and it wasn't for me. I liked it or didn't like it, or whatever the case may be, right? And so for folks listening, how can we find out, or how can they find out where Blaqueout magazine is? They want to check it out.
So you can find Blaqueout magazine. We have a Facebook page by the same name. So it's Black BLAQU/OUT. So you can find it on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. And the links will be on that Facebook page that will take you to the actual magazine where you can subscribe, read our stuff. On Instagram is Blaqueout Mag, and then on Facebook is Blaqueout Magazine, and on TikTok is Blaqueout Mag. But BLAQUE.
Oh man's corner. I like that. I like that a lot. And so you really taking on that name. So how do you feel about that, being called? I mean, you said people call you old man all the time anyway, but how does that feel and resonate with you? That's like, nah, I'm that old man for real now.
Yeah, I'm that old man for real. Like I embrace that completely. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, there's some wisdom in the journeys on the roads I've traveled. And so I don't take that lightly. I think that, that's part of my purpose, is to be a voice to, the people coming up behind me about, hey, so you don't necessarily have to go this route, or you can do this, or, just being an encouraging word for somebody.
Absolutely. I want to go back a little bit to talk about how you mentioned your transition in the beginning was frustrating. And I want to, you're 53 down, but when was it in your life when you say you always saw that man in the mirror, but when was it in your life that you had that switch and when you knew like who you really were on the inside?
Ooh, I think to be honest, I think I knew, but I tried to suppress that. And so I'd say my 40s that I like knew. Like my mind started on that journey of this is who you are. Like, and you don't have to like change that or try to suppress that. This is who you are. And so, because it's always that fear, right? That those you love will not understand or will walk away. But like once you get to the point of, it's either gonna be them or me, and if it's gonna be anybody, it's got to be me, right? Because I can't continue in this way being miserable just so I don't have to ask the question if you're gonna stay or if you're gonna walk away. And so, because I experienced that when I came out as a masculine lesbian woman. My twin didn't speak to me for like 3 years. And so so then that was a thing for me when I was like, well, I'm gonna have to, you know what I'm saying? I don't know who gonna stay and who gonna go, but I gotta walk in who I am. And I've been blessed that nobody walked off, so.
It's in your 40s, like when you're in your 40s, you build a lot of relationships, you've ended relationships, your life is just on this I would like to say, because I'm 43 now, so my life is pretty much on this certain trajectory. I know who I am. Mm-hmm. I know what I like, what I don't like, what I like to eat, where I like to go. You kind of got a sense of yourself. And so when you kind of had that shift, who was like the first person that you told it to out loud other than yourself?
My wife. I told my wife first.
And how did she take what you were saying to her?
Well, I mean, she was supportive, but she did need a minute to figure out what that meant for her. And the thing, and sometimes people get so offended by that. And like I don't, and I didn't, because you have to allow people, because if I say to you, listen, you are a lesbian woman, you are attracted to masculine lesbian women, I no longer identify as that. That is not who I am, right? And you say, well, I don't know if that's going to be for me. Why would I be upset about that, right? Because that is, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a legitimate response to things are going to change. Things have been changing. And so we need to have this discussion about where we at. And so for her, it was never a question about if she did or didn't love me. It was a question of what did my transition mean for her? Am I still a lesbian? Am I not a lesbian? Is this how is this going to change? You know what I mean? Like, because she had did her own journey to be able to come out as a lesbian, right? So now this thing that you've come out and you've held so you know what I'm saying? You've been out here with this for so long that this has been your thing. This has been who you are. Now we got to switch it up, right? And so she did her thought process about that. She now identifies as queer, and I tell people we transitions together.
So during that time when she needed that moment, did you all split and then be like, okay, all right, check back in a couple of months or something? Or was y'all still going on with the program and it was like active conversations and talking with each other?
Still going on with the program, active conversations with one.
I love that. And so how is her support now?
Oh man, she is my biggest supporter.
That's what's up.
And even when she was trying to figure out what it meant for her, she was still my biggest supporter. Like, you know, if she had decided that a romantic relationship was not going to be what she wanted, we would still be life partners. We just be different life partners. You see what I'm saying? Like, she is definitely my soulmate. You know, like, she has been. There's nothing. If I say I think I might want to do it, maybe I'd like to do that. She the first person to say you should do it and you can do it. And how can I be of assistance so that you can get it done? So
it's definitely a keeper for sure. When you find somebody like that, that's your number one cheerleader and they got their pom-poms out all the time. I always tell people too, well, certain people, right? I'm your cheerleader. I always got my pom-poms out rooting for people, right? And what I would like to ask is like, what advice would you have for folks listening that's pretty rough on the people in their life? And they're like, you need to get this shit together. I'm transitioning, so get used to it, right? So what would be your advice to kind of like give people a little bit more grace?
Exactly. Give people some grace. Understand that you didn't just wake up yesterday and figure out you was on this journey. So you can't expect for them to wake up tomorrow to your revelation and be on board, you know, especially in relationships. Relationships are a partnership. So, you know, just as you expect grace and understanding for what you are now embarking on, you need to have that same grace for them, because y'all embarking on this together if they so decide that this is still for them.
And that's you right though, and that's legitimate, because if you are in a relationship with somebody and you identified as lesbian before, that's a shift, right? Because you're also shifting somebody else's identity. Because I mean, now, especially if you choose to medically transition, which you don't have to, but if you choose to, now you're looking different. Right. So when we go outside in the streets, you're not looking like my masculine partner. Now you're looking like a cisgender man if you pass or if you choose to or whatever. Right. So you look different. So you're perceived differently in society. And sometimes that's a lot for somebody. Like it, just like you said, it take a lot to fight for the identity to be a lesbian and to be accepted by family as that. It's like, well, wait a minute now. Right. And then I also think of people saying, well, I thought you was a lesbian. Well, now you like being, right? And so all these other kind of questions pop up and like, you like, I don't know. I just love this person. I just love EL. I don't know about all that. Right. And it's like, they don't know either, just like you don't know. And you trying to figure it out. And also with transitioning, you try to figure out the type of man that you want to be. And so that takes a lot of shifting too. You may, I don't know. I'm just going to throw some stuff out there. You may become aggressive. And then your partner be like, you know what? I don't like you like that, right? You used to be softer, right? You may, your emotions may change, or it just all these different dynamics that go along with transitioning. And that goes back to you talking about you didn't have all the answers. Of course you don't have all the answers when you first transitioning, because you don't know yet, right? And so it's like giving people that opportunity to figure out if they really want to rock with you. It has nothing to do with love. It has nothing to do with that, because at the end of the day, like, we have to take care of ourselves. They got to take care of themselves. And that's most important, right? So, yeah. So
yeah, because I'm always like, you can't ask for something that you're not willing to give.
Absolutely. Ooh, right. Absolutely. You want somebody to give you time, but then you hurrying up somebody else. Like, that makes no sense.
Like, what we doing?
Right, exactly. And then you end up by yourself, because now you just done switched up and changed. Not only did you transition, but now you just a whole different person. And I know I'm speaking on experience, because when I first began the transition, I became a little nasty person. Not nasty in that like a perverted type of way, but like I had an attitude. I was snappy. I was angry all the damn time. I'm fussing at the kid, kicking the dog. Not really kicking the dog, but that's, you know what I mean? But just angry. Yeah. And I had to, because I was trying to figure this out. My hormones was changing, and I need to figure out who I was. Yes, I wanted this, but like, what does that look like for me now that I'm this different version of myself? And so, It does take a
Exactly.
little grace to be, patient with folks. And so I want to talk about your career a little bit. And you said that first you are a minister. Let's pivot
I
to
am.
talk about that a little bit. How is that for you?
It's cool for me. Like, a lot of people be like, "You a minister?" Yes, I am a minister. I'm not your typical minister, but yes, I am a minister. I am a Christian. I am a believer of Christ. But like in anything and everything that is about me, I'm pretty much your average Joe, right? Like, so my sermons are more about teaching than preaching, right? Um, the way I move is more like outside of what you would think. Like, I'm always outside because God's people are outside. So I'm outside. And so I'm not unapproachable or have this certain air that some people have become used to thinking about ministers as. Like, that's not me. So because I believe to reach people, although in meeting me or having a conversation with me, you know there's something different about me, right? Because you can see my purpose. I believe that wholeheartedly. But you can also see that I'm just like you, like, you know. And so I want people to always be comfortable in being able to speak to me or ask questions so we can have a regular dialogue. But at the end of that thing, you come away wanting or seeing that light and wondering where that came from. And so that leads into, conversations about God and stuff. So I'm not really into the whole church thing. I'm more into the spiritual aspect of things.
The new Visibility Equals Possibility merch is now here. If you've been a listener of the show for a while, you know that here on Dem Bois Podcast, we believe that visibility equals possibility. And I say it all the time. Now we're introducing a groundbreaking collaboration crafted by Emilio. Emilio was featured on Dem Bois Podcast episode 37. So if you don't know his story or his journey, be sure to go back and listen to episode 37, right? But this isn't just merch, it's a movement. We're empowering trans men of color with creative freedom to design their interpretation of what visibility equals possibility means to them. Think of it like major brands collaborating with athletes and musicians, right? But this time, it's our community taking the center stage. It's great to have trans men of color designing products that represents their community, my community, your community, and that folks feel proud to put on. So be sure to go to the website and check it out. Our website is dembois.org. That's DEMBOIS.org. Every purchase goes to support our vital programs. So your call into ministry, was that before your transition or after?
Before.
Oh, before. Okay. So how was that shifting your gender identity while being a minister? Was it difficult for you?
No. Like most of the people I come in contact with when I had the conversation with them was like, well, we already thought you were. You know what I'm saying? Like, you already, that was already the way we saw you anyway. So the hardest part for any of them is the pronouns. That's it.
Yeah. And the heart doesn't change and your eyes don't change. That's what I've heard people say.
Exactly.
So, I'm going to speak for myself. I can't speak for listeners because I don't know anybody else's experience, but I'm just going to speak to my own. I got a lot of church hurt, right? And being a queer trans person, I was always told, well, first, when I first came out as lesbian, I'm going to hell, all of these different things that we're told and taught. And God, God doesn't like, queer folks and all of these different things that we're taught, raised in church. I was in church since I was 2 until I was old enough to say, I don't want to go no more. I've had enough of this damage. Now I'm working the rest of my life trying to unwork that damage. Right. And so how is that for you to be in that, in ministry when some of us as queer folks, we see church in that way?
like my whole thing is to try to help people see it in a different way, right? Because I went to church my whole life too, and I heard all of that, and you know what I'm saying. It was part of the issue when I came out as a lesbian, right? And so those things stay with you, but I I I always point out, like, you know, it's like going to someone who doesn't like you and ask them, "You like my shirt?" You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't the opinion of others is not important, right? You need to surround yourself in places that are affirming, right? So I I'm a minister in an affirming ministry. Before I became a minister, I worshiped in an affirming ministry. I read the Bible for myself. Find the Bible that works for you. My wife likes the King James version. I don't like that version. It's all them these and thous. I'm a regular average dude. I need some regular average language, right? So I read the Voice Bible because it makes sense to me, right? You have to find what works for you. Like, you have to, it's like our transition. Like, you went on that journey. If being a Christian or a lover of Christ is something that you still feel, right, or you want to still explore that, then you need to take that journey of research outside of what people said to you. Because when we were kids, they read us the Bible and tell us what it said to us. At this point in age, you can't tell me anything, right? I'm gonna go find out for myself. I'm gonna research it. I'm gonna do my own introspective about things, and that's what I tell people. Find a place where you feel loved and accepted, and don't allow people to tell you what it is. You figure that out for yourself.
Absolutely.
And at the end of that, if it's different than how you came up, then it's different.
I was laughing when you said that. Folks can't hear me because I was on mute. But when you were talking about the different versions of the Bible, and I just had this conversation at my job with this lady she's in her 50s and she's just starting to read the Bible. And so she followed so I couldn't believe I had this whole conversation with her because I don't really like to talk about the Bible, but I was like, she had me all involved. So I ended up talking to her, but I was telling her that there are other versions. And because she was saying the reason why she never liked the Bible was because of the same thing that you said about the King James Version. And so I told her, no, there's other versions. There's like women's studies Bibles. There's all type of versions. And I was telling her stuff I didn't even know I knew, And so it's like, no, if you really, really want that understanding and you want a relationship with, God or whatever, you do have to do the research for yourself. Don't listen to what somebody else telling you. But for me personally, I'm not a religious person, but I feel like I feel like it's more of a feeling to me, how I feel about how I'm moving through this world and the good that I try to do in this world. I feel like it's more of a feeling than it is for a book for me. It's like you can read me James chapter 3 verse 6, right? But that may not resonate with me. But what resonates with me is how I live my life and how I don't want to say be like God, but I try to be a person, like, just like you said, when somebody see you, they're like, no, I know you different, something different about you. I can feel that light. And so to me, that's what it means to be now in my adult life. So
Definitely. Like, it's all about action. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can I lead this world better than you know what I'm saying, than it was when I got here? You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. That's why it's help and hope. That's my thing. I want to bring hope to those who are hopeless, and I want to be able to assist in any way that's possible. Anything that is in me that I can do to help someone, we down with that. That's why I started I started a nonprofit with a brother of mine. His name's Pharaoh. We started Transformation NC. And so we provide gender affirming care, like items, like, so anything that you would need that you might not be able to afford. So binders, STPs, support groups, whether they be online or in person. We're working on a anthology right now. It will be out for Trans Day of Visibility. It's called the Trans Joy Project. And a lot of times we're always talking about the trauma of our transition. And so I wanted to open it up for trans people of Black and brown trans people to write about what joy did your transition bring to you, whether it be a short story or a poem. And so I had a lot of people reach out to me, and we were able to compensate them for their work. And we're going to put that book together. We are in the process of editing, and we're going to put that out, and we're going to show the world that, you know, we just don't show up in trauma. We have joy. We love, and we are loved. You know what I mean?
Oh, that really kind of like, I don't know, it like gave me goosebumps to say that we're not just our trauma. That take a lot to learn though, right? And however you learn it, whether it be in therapy or, you know, seeking out God or whatever, but it takes a lot to move past that trauma, but that's not all of who we are. I love that. So what if somebody wants to be in contact with the organization? How can they do that? Is it only local or is it nationwide?
Oh no, we're everywhere. Well, we are locally based. Like our headquarters are here in North Carolina, but we're online. We're everywhere. We have a Facebook page called Transformation with a Z, right? NC. We're on Facebook. You can send me a message. I'm EL Winston on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm Zeta King, or Book Therapy with EL Winston. You can send me a message on any of those platforms. And we like in person, we do support groups or hangouts. Like I'm getting ready to drop a flyer for my local area for Smoke Out with the Boys. So we gonna go to a cigar lounge here on Monday night, watch football, have a couple cigars, and just hang out and chill. And we do online support groups. Like we just, wherever there is a need, we try to plug in. And if we cannot supply that need, we know we are in connection with other people who can. And so we're going to get you to where you need to get get what it is you need to get.
Man, I'm jealous. I want to I want to go to that smoke out thing. Like, I love a good cigar, and you can't really find too many people that love to do that. I haven't found too many trans brothers that like to do that. So to do that in a group, damn, I want to come.
It is funny because I just started on my cigar journey. I was a part of the Monica Roberts Freedom School last cohort, and we were in New Orleans for graduation. And so then me and two other trans brothers, you know, we decided to hang out together because there were not very many of us. There were more of our siblings than us. And so we went out one night and we went to the cigar spot. We got some cigars, and like, I was like, yo, I'm digging this. And so that's where my journey started. And so, I'm having a great time.
That sounds great. I really want to come.
Come on.
Yeah, and to me, like cigars, it's not just about the smoke, it's about the relaxation to me. I feel like you could just sit back, you take your little puff, you know, and just relax. And it allows me to think and unwind and to be outside, because I'm always in the house. I mean, obviously I don't smoke in the house. I can't in my place, but it's like, no, I'm going to go outside in nature, outside with some fresh air and just relax and get this, you know, smoke this out. I love that. That's wow.
Yeah.
I wish that was something that was local to me. That sounds amazing. To just.
And where are you now?
I'm in the Bay Area. We on way
in the Bay Area. Now, if there might be something coming to your area, because my brother Pharaoh, who is my co-founder for Transformation, is in the Bay Area. He is on that end of the coast. I'm on this end. So he will be doing something like that as well.
Well, I hope I find out about this, because I want to invite. Like, I don't want to crash the party,
I'm
but
send you the invite.
Okay, that's I love that, just to be with community and doing things that you love. And then you said football, and I just got excited. So yeah, I definitely want to be a part of that. That's nice. I love that. I feel like we should do more things in community with each other like that. Like I see a lot of other groups doing stuff, but I rarely see trans men of color doing things together in groups like that. And I love that for y'all. That's beautiful. And so earlier you said something else too that you do, book therapy. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Okay, so book therapy started because I read a lot of books. I read 3 books at a time. So I read 1 book for enjoyment, 1 book for education, and 1 book to feed my spirit, right? And so me and the editor of Blaqueout magazine, Tam, shouts out, that we have become really close friends, right? And so we're always talking. Like there might be a day or 2 that we don't talk, but it ain't gonna be longer than that. Like this past, because she lives in Florida, this past hurricane was the longest time that we didn't speak because she didn't have service. And so we were talking about some books I was reading, and she was like, "Yo, you should do book reviews." And I was like, so the thing is, like, I'm dyslexic, and so it takes me longer to read than a person who doesn't have dyslexic challenges. And I was like, "Oh, nobody want to hear about what I'm reading, whatever." But then I was like, "Hey, so maybe." And she was like, "Yeah, because there's got to be people out there that have the same challenges as you. So wouldn't it be great for them to see that it's possible, And it has been the most amazing thing in the world. I have sat down and interviewed, New York bestsellers. I've had conversations with some people who I hold in they're writing in high regard. I've been able to sit down with them and interview them and talk to them about their books. People send me books now. Hey, could you want to review my book? And so I'm having a ball.
I love to read too. And I was going to say, are you calling it book therapy because it is therapy for the dyslexia, or are you just saying it's just for the mind and spirit?
Just for the mind and spirit.
Hey, this is Joel Simud, production assistant for Dem Bois Podcast. Love visual storytelling? Then you'll want to check out our YouTube channel. We're bringing you exclusive interview shorts and taking you behind the scenes with content you won't find anywhere else. Find us on YouTube at Dem Bois Inc. or click the link in our show notes.
For me, it's like a book can take you anywhere. Just like music can change a mood. A book you could be somewhere where you could have some kind of disorder where you can't go outside, but a book will take you to the 4 corners of the earth. You know what I mean? So
reading is a powerful thing. And that was why for so many years, some people were forbidden to read, right? Because it gives you imagination. It gives you a hope and all of these things that reading does. I'm watching a movie right now. It's called See. I don't know if you've heard of it. SEE.
See,
on Apple TV.
The television show?
No,
or is it a movie?
It's a TV series. It's an Apple TV series.
Yeah.
And folks, everybody was blind over generations. People became blind. Yeah, it's really good, but it reminds me kind of like it's like an end of the world type of thing, but it's in survival. But it reminds me kind of like the Book of Eli, when that's the first thing that they get rid of is books. Why? You keep people from reading, you keep people from having hope, you keep people from having an imagination, having an opinion, all of those things, right? And so reading is very, very powerful. I love to read. When I was a kid, I used to get teased because I read so much. And so I kind of...
Me too.
Yeah. I used to love the library. That was my thing. After school, I want to go. I tell my mom, I'll be back. I'm going to the library. I used to check out all types of stuff. Come home, mom, I'll be like, you gonna read all of them? Yes, I am. I used to sit and read all that stuff. And reading is good for the soul. It's just like smoking a cigar. Do you ever go outside, smoke a cigar, and read?
Yep.
Yes.
I take my Kindle to the cigar bar.
That's for that. You know, that's for real old man corner, right? You
Yeah.
taking your book, you taking your book to the cigar bar. That's
Yeah.
You have made it.
I'm there. Thank you.
I love it. I love it.
Yo, but it's like, especially right now when they trying to ban books, and like I tell people, people died for you to be able. It's just like vote. People died for you to be able to have that right to do. And just because you have that right now doesn't mean you're gonna have that right tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things my father said to me and my brother often, because my father could not read, my mother taught him how to read. Right? And so he was very pressed about our education. A young man came to our door one day, African American man. He was selling Black history encyclopedias. My father bought them all. And every Saturday before we could go outside and play with the other kids, we had to do our chores. We had to read a chapter of the book and write down what we got from that. Like, even in my challenges with my dyslexia, I have never let it deter me from being able to enjoy a thing that no one can take from me, because my father said they can take a lot of things from you, but they'll never be able to take your mind. And so what we put into our mind is important, and today with technology, put your kids in front of a television, and I'm not judging. I'm just saying, as much time as you put them in front of that TV, you should be putting them in front of a book, especially in a time where Black and brown authors, first of all, have the hardest time to be traditionally published, right? You got to be twice as good at writing to be published that way. You got a lot of indie authors that are writing amazing works. And so at this time, we need to support Black and brown BIPOC authors. I'm talking about Black, brown, indigenous. They are writing amazing things that they don't want us to read. And if we don't tap into these things, it might not be available to us in the future.
Have you ever heard of it's a bookstore in DC called Mahogany Books?
Yes, I did a whole video because I went there.
Oh, nice. Okay. For folks who don't know, you want to tell them what Mahogany Books is?
Oh, it is a Black-owned bookstore. They sell books by Black and brown authors. And I had an awesome time.
I want to go there in person.
Time. Like,
yeah.
I wish I had like more money, because I would have bought the whole store out.
I love that, and I want to visit there, but I usually when I first heard about them, it was I don't remember when I heard about them, many years ago, but I usually just buy my books from them online, and that's how I get my books. Yeah, I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I got a T-shirt. I almost wore that T-shirt today too. It says Black books matter.
Yes. Absolutely, right? Because we can't nobody tell our stories like us, Black and brown folks. We need to be telling our own stories.
Yeah, and when we were kids, we didn't see us.
Yeah.
And now we're at a time where now, not only can I be a Black person and see myself, I could be a Black trans person and see myself in books, because now we have Black trans writers that's out here writing some amazing work. River Solomon, he writes thrillers and horrors. He just had a book that just came out. KB Brookins has a memoir out. I interviewed him. He'll be featured in November's issue of Blaqueout magazine. That was an amazing time. There are so many things that weren't around when I was coming up that I'm so excited about, that there are more things for our children, our teenagers, me as an adult that can see me,
Yes, absolutely. At a time, and I'm 43, and I know when I was a kid, I ain't seen none of that. Now it's just a plethora of it. There's all types of books, and they got all types of stuff. My granddaughter, I just bought her like some flashcards, right, with like black images on there, right, and things that's specific to us, right, and so. You just definitely got to get out there and do more reading. I agree. Like, instead of putting a child in front of a TV, I'm not judging either, but there's so many other things that can happen. But granted, there are programs on TV for children that teach them things. Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. My thing is more like balance. You know what I'm saying? We need to balance out what we are exposing our children to. We need to balance out what we're exposing ourselves to as adults.
Yes.
Like, I'm not judging about, ratchet television, but I just would charge people to think about the amount of time you spend watching those type of shows. Like, what you put in your mind means something, right? Even if you don't think that it means something. Like, if you watching black men and black women beating each other up all day long, cussing each other out, what do you think that's doing to your mindset? Right? That's not by happenstance. That's not no accident for me personally. And, if you enjoy that, I'm not judging. I'm just saying you might need to balance that out with something that is positive and affirming about people who look like you.
I agree. And that's just like saying, I'm just going to throw like a random example of like, oh, I can't find love because all of the people that I'm attracted to do this, and that, and I don't like those things. Well, no, that's because you just saw that on TV. That's not how all those people are. You got to go outside, or you got to,
Exactly.
read more positive, balance it out with more positive things about the people who you want in your life. And you will realize that there are some people out there that hold those specific traits that you're looking for. And so I agree.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so I want to touch on, before we get out of here, I want to touch on one more thing about you. Is you said earlier that you founded 2 non-collegiate Greek organizations. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. All right. So when I identified as a masculine lesbian woman, I created Lambda Zeta Phi Nu Fraternity Incorporated. It is the brother org to my sister's org, Lambda Alpha Kappa Nu Sorority Incorporated, Amy Diaz, right? So we've been friends for over a decade, and so we met when I was looking for a non-collegiate Greek organization because I always wanted to join one, but I wasn't going to join I'm not wearing no pearls and no heels and none of that, right? So that's how we started. And so then when I transitioned, me and my brother Pharaoh, we created Lambda Gamma Omega Nu Fraternity Incorporated, which is a non-collegiate Greek organization for trans men. And so that's how those two came about. So there are those two fraternities. There is a fraternity, Lambda Beta Delta Nu Fraternity Incorporated for all men. And then Lambda Alpha Kappa Nu Sorority Incorporated used to be for feminine and lesbian women, but now it accepts all women, cisgendered or not. And so all of those orgs together encompass the Lambda Nu Dynasty. And so we are a service organization. We are based in service. We out here doing the work all day, every day. And I love it.
Love it. So do people have to be local to join, or is it anybody?
No, you could be anywhere. We have members all over the country.
Okay. Nice. Beautiful. And so you like being associated with the organization and the work that they do?
Definitely.
Yeah, love that.
Definitely. It just fits into my purpose. It really is an extension of who I am. Like, some of our pillars are integrity, humility, discipline. Service is an important part of who I am, right? So even growing up, my parents didn't have a lot. My mother had some addiction challenges, right? But what I got from her most of all, and my father, they would go out of their way to help anyone. And my mom, if we had one piece of bread and it was somebody who had no piece of bread, she was going to split the bread so everybody had a piece. And so, like, being of service to people has been ingrained in me. Like, if you're able to help, you should help. And I feel like my organizations are trying to change communities in which we live and beyond for the better. And so, yeah, I love it.
So when we first started talking, you said you wear many hats. You was not lying. You got there are a lot of things. I'm glad we was able to peel back all the things that make EL beautiful. Like, you just got a lot of good stuff going on, and I'm here for it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is the part of the show where I love to ask my guests a random question. My list is always growing. What am I at now? Mm-hmm. I'm at 50 questions, but I'm doing it different this season. And so I want you to take one and leave one. So I'm pick one between 1 and 50. I'm gonna read you that question. And then after you answer the question, leave a question for a future guest to answer.
Okay. 24.
Number 24. Oh, number 24 says, what are you afraid of?
Failure. I'm definitely afraid of failure.
Failure. I know a saying, I don't know who said this, but it's like, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you attempt to do if you knew that you couldn't fail? And so to be afraid of failure, go ahead.
Like my thing is, what would you do for me? Because even everything that I am doing or have accomplished has been something that I was afraid that I would fail at, but I did it anyway. So what will you do anyway, even if you don't know if you'll fail?
Is that a question you want to
like
leave
what,
behind?
what you know what I mean? Yeah. Like what you gonna do?
Yeah. I think, yeah, I love that, because even earlier you said that even just if it's something that you want to do, just do it. Just go for it. Just do it. What's the worst that can happen, right? The worst that can happen is that you never do it at all. And so you never find out because you didn't do it. EL, I really, really, really appreciate you for being a guest on this show. It's been amazing. Is there any last words you want to say to folks listening before we get out of here?
Absolutely. Like, live loud, live proud, and love the same way. And my favorite saying is, don't forget, if you can look up, you can get up from any situation. If you can see the sky, you can reach it.